I mean, you might have thought we were slowing down on the events, but you are wrong, buddy. My name is Alexa, BPM RIA office manager, and I'm so glad you're all here today. So on time, so ready to go. I absolutely love it. We're going to dive into how to run a successful wholesale business today. We have Anish Dave, our CEO and lead mentor, as well as Harry Diamond, our BPM RIA mentor, here with us. And I have some awesome announcements for you guys. All of our events, as you all know, you can find them on our website, bpmria.com/upcoming events. I will go ahead and put the link in the chat for you guys so you can register for a ton of these free webinars. And you guys asked for it, so we are delivering in-person events coming up. We have a ton. So I'm gonna put it in the chat for you guys in case I run a little bit quick. We have an in-person event on July 20th. We're doing a collaboration. All of our people over in Palm Beach County, we're coming to Boca. So look out for this. I really suggest you all take out a notebook or something to write with and get your calendar out because we have a lot of great events coming up. So July 20th, Boca Raton, we'll get that registration out for you guys ASAP. And as well as July 23rd, we will be meeting in Pompano Beach. So Pompano Beach, July 23rd, that's posted. Go ahead and register for it right now. It is free on July 23rd. So look out for that. I'm pretty sure July 20th is also free, if I'm not mistaken. But you guys will see that.
Yeah, we will be making it free. The key, guys, I'm just letting you guys know, these are in-person events. So I definitely have a limited amount of seating. So you must register. We've unfortunately in the past, if you didn't pre-register and you came to the door, we've actually had to turn people away in the past just because of the room. So you just got to make sure if you're really going to come and you want to come to these events, especially if they're free, we have limited seating, guys. So
absolutely. So you can go ahead and RSVP, register on our website. We'll get you July 20th ASAP. And as you all know, our main quarterly meeting is coming right around the corner. So go ahead and register for August main meeting. As you all know, August 3rd. And we're also going to have a full day workshop that following Saturday on August 6th. All of these events are posted on our website right now. So go ahead and register for those. But can't forget, we do have our July monthly meeting coming up with Maria Giordano. I told a couple of you that I just went to the National RIA Conference and I met her in person. She's absolutely phenomenal. So she's going to be doing a half-day live online workshop with us the following Saturday after she comes to speak with us on Zoom on Wednesday the 6th. Saturday, go ahead and register for those. So I know that was a lot, but here's the best way to keep up with events if you ask me. If you are attending these free webinars regularly, the text to get the updates for our free webinars is super easy. You can register straight from the text. So if you want to keep up with the events via text, go ahead and text the word BPM REIA to our event line 954-800-6961. I threw that in the chat for you guys. And do not call this phone number because this is simply for event updates. If you need to reach me, you can go ahead and call the main office number, or you all probably have my direct line at this point. So, all right, cannot forget to mention this for you guys because this early bird pricing ends the day after 4th of July at midnight. So a lot of you are wondering what we're teaching. How can I learn more? How can I, have more time with Anish, more time with our mentors, all of the insane, just incredible professionals that we bring in for our workshops. This is where you're going to have that experience. 2 full days online, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. live with us. So if you really want to get to know us better, what we're doing, what's working, go ahead and buy your ticket for the quick start right now for $297 because after July 5th, it will go up to $595. So Thank you so much, guys, for responding to this poll. Anybody who responds to this poll, I'm reaching out to you. I know everybody who responds to these polls. You guys don't know, but I know everybody who's on these. So thank you for responding to the poll, and I will definitely circle back with you with more information on the Quick Start Bootcamp training on September 10th and 11th. Alrighty, and our members, as you know, you get a ton of discounts, like for these live seminars, online, in person, the main quarterly meetings. You get in free, get a discount. So many great benefits when it comes to being a member. You get the National RIA benefit package, tons of discounts to Home Depot, Rent Perfect, Arcana Insurance, Avis Budget, just a ton. So if you guys have any questions about being a member to the association, go ahead and respond to the poll. I'm also going to throw the link in the chat for you guys if you'd like to go ahead and buy a membership, or if you're saying, oh gosh, I need to renew my membership now, you're going to go ahead and do that via the website. And we also have the corporate memberships available, as many of you know. That's who we bring on in these workshops, our vendor partners. We trust them. We put them on the website for you guys to, use at your disposal. And they also, I'm going to put the link in the chat for you guys so you can find access to all of our vendor partners. So there you go. And as you all know, the one-on-one coaching program, the most unique mentoring and coaching program in South Florida. This is going to be basically, if you're interested in the mentoring program, try the boot camp, try us out. A lot of you want to try before you buy. Go ahead and try the boot camp, because this will be a very condensed version of what we teach in the boot camp. If you want more information about the mentoring coaching, thank you all for responding to this poll. I will be following up with you to get you more information. As you see, we pair you up with a mentor. So this is one-on-one coaching. We put 100% of the money for our students' deals. We split profits 50-50. We actually have a link on our website for you to book a discovery call right now if you want to get more information. So you can respond to the poll. Thank you all for responding to the poll. I really appreciate it. And you can book a discovery call right now on our website for a time that works for you. And we can get you that more information about what we're doing in our one-on-one coaching program here in South Florida. I'm going to go ahead and put the link for the website in the chat for you guys, as well as my email. So don't hesitate to reach out. And thank you guys for responding to the poll. I really appreciate it. Oh, wow. So many of you in here right now. And this is my direct line, of course, although email is always best. As you know, I'm always on the phone with everyone. So last but not least, want to thank our sponsors, thank our speakers, thank National RIA, all of our corporate vendors, everybody who's in this webinar right now. You guys are absolutely killing it. We are packed today, and we're going to go over a ton of information. I'm going to hop off now so we can go do that. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Alexa. And so I do see a lot of you guys are actually new. I saw some people put in the chat. So I try to keep our introductions a little light. And so my name's Anish Dave. I'm a licensed real estate agent since 2002. I'm a licensed mortgage guy. We used to be called BRIA, the Broward Real Estate Investors Association. We did change our names to BPM RIA. So that's Broward, Palm Beach, Miami-Dade RIA is our name. And the reason we kind of changed it was people only thought we were only buying in Broward County for years. And I said, hey, you know what? Let's just rebrand it during the pandemic. And so we are also, what Alexa mentioned, a chapter of National RIA. National RIA is the organization that endorses real estate clubs. What that means for you is, besides the great benefits with Home Depot, Rent Perfect, Arcana Insurance, and much more, they do background checks, they do criminal checks, and every year I have to go through compliance. So, so far, 10 years in a row, so far so good. Safe to say, I pass all those things, and there's a lot of other RIAs out there. We're a little unique because we could offer these benefits through National RIA. And the cool thing is, what Alexa was even talking about, she went to the mid-year conference. There's well over 120 chapters and affiliates nationwide. that have real estate investors associations like ours that are approved with National RIA. One of the things is also, I'll give you the quick background since I did see a few names. I've been investing in real estate since 2000. Worked at Bank of America. I grew up in New Jersey a little bit. So if you hear some sarcasm, that's me growing up in New Jersey, talking some crap or smack or whatever you want to say. I was had a mortgage company, very successful, was killing it for about a good 5-6 years. And then, some of you old timers, if you've been around, you know what happened in 2008. If you didn't, if you're young and you're one of those millennials, guess what? Market crash. I had, well over 28 properties, millions of dollars in assets, and I thought I would be done, meaning done working. I didn't realize I'd be done financially and lose everything. So one of the reasons I did lose everything was I was a speculator. And back then, I'd never actually heard of wholesaling. I know it sounds kind of weird to bring it back, talk about 2008 or 7 about wholesaling. You have to remember, I think there was only one HD TV show with Flip This House. Social media was pretty new. YouTube was definitely new. So for me to actually come up with the idea, or to think that you could actually get something under contract and not close on it and sell it to somebody else was shocking, because before I was either rehabbing and keeping the properties as rentals, or I was rehabbing and selling them. And the big mistake I made was cash flow. So we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit today also, and wholesaling also. I do have Harry Diamond, who is actually, I'm going to start as a friend first, an ex-student, and more than anything, he's also a mentor, him and his wife. And, they've been, I'll let Harry introduce himself, but without a doubt, they have been the most profitable couple or students ever in our program. I know you guys are well over a couple $1 million in net profit over the years too. So Harry, if you want to kind of give a quick little introduction about you.
It's me. More? Okay. Well, we still are students, and for our whole life, we'll probably be students because we're always learning new things. But we started with the BRIA program about 10 years ago, and just followed the leader. And clearly, that was doing very well for us. We made a commitment to ourselves to go to almost every single meeting, even if the meetings were something that we've heard of before. Our goal was to just learn one new thing at each meeting or each networking event. And I recommend that for anyone who's interested in real estate, is to make sure you plug in. That is critical. Know your environment. But this was the only place that my wife Victoria and I felt safe in, because every other place was more about them than it was about us. And from day one, BRIA was always pushing us away, saying, when you go out on your own, when you do your own deals. So we knew this as a safe place to get good information that was actionable. And we're almost at, we're a deal or two away from 3 million right now, Nish. So just keep your,
Okay.
we'll let you know. We'll let you know.
Yeah.
And we don't like rehabbing. We like to get rid of properties very quickly, in and out, low risk, minimum exposure financially to the marketplace. And some of those decisions were very wise. And looking back, some of those decisions, maybe I should have held a few properties or rehabbed a few more. But that's one of the beautiful things about being part of a team, part of a network. Is that we have access to all this information, so we can make the best decisions for us. And I'm not alone. There's a few other students over the years that have become mentors as well to this great program. And you're in good hands. You'll find out the longer you keep plugging in, you'll see.
Yep. And thanks, Harry. And the cool thing is, like, I mean, real estate has allowed us to, live the life we want. I know he's going on this magnificent vacation, this high-end cruise. I've been able to, because of this wholesaling business, I was actually, after losing literally everything and filing bankruptcy, I've been able to rebuild myself in the last 10 years. And it's been the real estate wholesaling. So a couple little house rules, guys. If you got questions, just put them in the Q&A. It's a lot faster for us to see them. Otherwise, the chat just moves way too quick. The other thing is I will put up some polls up there. It just gives us an idea of our audience. So I'm always trying to figure out, who's listening, what your background is. It makes it a little bit easier for us. I know we're not in person, so if we're doing this in-person event, it's a little bit easier. You can raise your hand and ask questions. And today's supposed to be very interactive. So ask away on any questions. And so, one of my first polls I'm putting up here is how many deals have you completed, right? So, and if you're new, that's okay. If you've done a few, gives us a good idea. And then in the chat, in the meantime, is what is wholesale? Real estate wholesale. Go ahead and put in the chat what you think real estate wholesaling is in there, right? So let's see some of the chats. Yeah, selling contracts, right? Buying and selling contracts. Okay. Kind of, right? And then assigning, okay. So the key is, right, you want to buy low and what? Sell low, right? You actually have to leave enough room for someone else to make money, right? And we'll actually talk about assignments and double closings, but you could wholesale houses and not assign the contracts. So I know a lot of times you always hear that, hey, listen, I've assigned contracts, and that's what it's about too. And of course, we like wholesaling because if you do it right, there's really no risk. And Harry, I know like you guys are close to 3 million. I know if you guys haven't watched our last couple webinars, they actually wholesaled the house and made close to 170,000 plus in profit, which set our new record on a house that they bought for what, 170, right? Like you basically doubled it and did nothing to the house too. So it's kind of one of those things that it gives you a good idea of how you could get into real estate without actually risking any money. So I do see a lot of you guys are new. Okay. So first of all, welcome, right? Like you're at the right spot. We've all been new, right? So that's one of the other things. And then how many of you guys, right, are actual, real estate agents, right? Like I told you, I'm a licensed agent, and I got my license first. Harry's actually not a licensed agent, neither is Victoria.
We'll forgive the agents. That's okay.
So as an agent, I know some of you guys, a lot of you guys are actually agents. You guys work way too hard for your money, right? How easy is it to be an agent? And my friends that are not real estate agents, what do they always say, right? Oh, it must be so easy. You just drive people around, right? And if they drive everyone around, you're gonna, go under contract and make a big fat commission. So it makes it kind of interesting. So I see almost half you guys are agents too. So God bless you. It's not easy.
And then this, aside from, I do have a lot of respect for agents, but a friend of mine is an agent, and he says I make more money selling a $140,000 house than he does selling a $2 million house. So agents think about those numbers for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're actually, right, we talked about wholesaling where you have to buy low and sell low. And one of the things is you need a team, right? How many guys have heard, hey, I need to build a power team, right? And what I mean by a power team, who's in your power team? If I was a real, I am a real estate investor. Who's on your team? Just out of curiosity, go ahead and put in the chat. Title company, yeah. All right, you need a title company. Maybe an attorney, but we do have attorneys, right? Realtors, lenders, yep, Jessica. What kind of lenders? Are you talking like a Bank of America person? I'm picking Bank of America because I used to work for Bank of America. Okay, hard money, right? You actually want both. You want a mortgage broker or lender, direct lender, a hard money guy person also. I see transaction coordinator, yep, as you're scaling your business. PAs, yep. Yep, as you're starting to grow your business, right? If you're doing things in different markets. Contractor, I saw. Yep, contractors, hard money guys. So a lot of those, right? You guys are correct. How do you build that team? What are some of the things that you need to do besides going to your local RIA, which you should, right? If you actually check out our vendor page, or if you even call or email us, I'll definitely tell you, who our vendors are. They've been great. I've been trying to use almost all our vendors too. So, vendors or power team is massive. So one of the things when we talk about how to build your power team, right? And again, you want to have trusted partners. So, for, as I said, like we have pretty much a little bit of everything. I've used almost all our vendors whenever I can. So we do have multiple hard money guys. They're all good at different things. What you also want to do is get their referrals. So I think that's always important, and interview them, right? So you want to make sure, if they've been a lender, right? And it's, let's say we have some, I know some smaller lenders, private money guys, and ask them how much money they have. Meaning, do they ever run out of money for deals? How does it work? Who's your client, right? Who's used you, right? Title company referrals. We have some, investor-friendly title companies that are part of our organization. And, some of you guys are realtors, and you might have some of your favorite title companies, and they don't work with investors as much. Harry, you kind of want to talk about, I'm just going to put you on the spot a little bit of what your experience between, an investor-friendly title company versus not. What are some of the things that you've seen, heard, all the above? Don't use any names. Yeah, don't use any names.
I won't.
At least no names, no names on the people that you're gonna say, hey, they didn't really, it was tough working with them.
Predator bash. Straight down the middle of the road. Certainly over the years, I've learned that the title companies I asked them to do a lot more than they really get paid. And so we've developed a lot of relationships with some really, really good title companies. But when we, let's say when our buyer, if we're reselling to our buyer, he wants to use his title company, it makes it a little more work for me because one, I don't know who they are. They try to load more money onto my side than on theirs, which I understand. But sometimes they don't understand how investors work. So it just makes it a little difficult. Occasionally we get, you can't do that, or and you can, or something that's customary, like the buyer or seller pays these expenses. Get it out of your head. There's nothing that's customary of who pays what. So it's a great way to anyway, we'll talk more about that at another time. But it's just easier if you work with the same title companies, especially if you're doing a double closing. It's faster. You don't have to transfer all the paperwork across town to get it done in one day. Double closings usually are close in the morning, and then I sell it in the afternoon. But when you have a good team, they understand how we work. And I think most title companies should know how an investor works. Years ago, I had one or two that didn't. And so I really can't answer your question fully, Anish, because I've got these guys, they train me or I train them, I'm not sure. But it goes really smoothly. And you also trust them because they watch your back. They know you're putting a lot of deals through them. They're always watching out for something else that might show up that we never saw. So they give us a heads up. They keep an eye out, as far as the cost and making sure we're not overcharged. All very, very important stuff that helps us run our business.
And so like we're just talking about title companies, and I'll, like, for an example, right? So we use different title companies for short sale negotiations. So even within it, what they do, there's specialties. So some title companies won't do short sale negotiations. Some will. Some are attorney owned. Some are not. What we found, sometimes the attorney owned title companies, their fees are a little bit more. When I say a little bit, and I'm just using a broad stroke by saying that the fees are always negotiable. But if you're working with a title company that does a lot of volume, their fees are usually better. They're happy to get both sides of the deal. And just exactly what Harry's talking about is they have your back, right? So they're gonna let you know, or on the assignments of contracts on a closing statement, they don't point out the $20,000 you made. Hey, well, this is Harry's fee at Valor Ventures. This is what they're making, to the seller. Hard money guys, right? So let's talk about some of those guys, right? So we have a few. I think we have about 6. We have some the big companies, some national companies. We have some local guys that are actually using their own money. They're all good at different things, right? Their rates are a little bit different. Sometimes their fees, right? The more local guys, for example, someone like our Blander Mortgage, who we saw recently, he doesn't do an appraisal because he actually walks out to the house. Paul Regan with Flipper Loans, sometimes the same thing, Equity Max. The bigger companies, right? Let's say you want to work in different markets. Not all the hard money guys work in different markets. So when you do have a lending home, which is now Kiaba, I always forget what their new name, Kiaba, I get that wrong, or Lima One Capital, they're usually, or Lending One, they're in over 40 markets or 40 different states. So you want to make sure you have that also. Contractors, right? So we use Carl Shield. He's been with Bria way before I was. He's our oldest corporate member, 25 plus years. I always get it wrong. I always use the same number, pretending I don't age. So he's probably, I think he told me it's like 28 years. So he's excellent for all our rehabs. For inspections, we use Gaia Construction for inspections. So we want to make sure you do have different vendors for your power team, and you do want backup vendors. What do you think that means when I say backup vendors? And the reason I use that is, when I first started, I loved a certain, vendor, right? A certain, maybe it's a lender or title company or whatnot. And all of a sudden they got used to it and the service went down. And if you have 8 to 10 deals with them, and now something happens where your favorite person, your processor leaves at that company and it's not the same, it's going to change your business. So you might want to alternate or have a backup just in case something ever happens, right? So I think that's always important to have backup vendors on everything. Contractors, right? Sometimes, especially now, they're too busy. Realtors are too busy. Everyone's too busy. Well, what happens if you only have one person? So you want to make sure that's part of your deal of having, a power team. And obviously with the RIA, we actually vetted a lot of these people ready for you. But if you, if you want it your own or you're using your own, make sure you ask them some of the questions. I will give you some tips, like on the hard money guys. They get those calls all the time. I know these national programs. Oh yeah, interview these people. And a lot of times they're all too busy and they'll just say, hey, what's the deal? Do you have a deal going on or you don't have a deal going on? So, they might be short. It's the same thing, I'm a cash buyer and people I get texts all the time. I don't know about you guys, where, hey, I know you're a cash buyer. What's your buyer's box? And I get those things 5 to 7 times a week. And instead, I'd rather just say, well, what do you have? Just send me what you got. So it is a challenge when it comes to that because there are a lot of newbies out there. So it does get frustrating for the more experienced people because we do get those calls or texts all the time too. So, right. So you definitely need a power team. That's definitely one of those things that you need. So what are the most profitable types of properties? Right. We're looking for motivated sellers, obviously, right? So the motivation has to be there, right? Just because it's a type of property, they may or may not be motivated. Go ahead and put in the chat what you think are the most profitable properties, or what kind of properties are we going after? general. So let's see, I got it. Yeah. Well done. Okay. A distress, single families. Okay. Pre-foreclosure. Yeah. So, right, we're going after pre-foreclosure, probates, and in and out of state landlords, generally speaking. Do we care that if it's a single family? We don't, to be honest. And that it's just easier, right? Because if there's no association, we do have houses with associations that will make it a little bit more difficult. What are some of the parameters, would you might see with an association that could hold up your sale or make it more difficult to find a buyer? What kind of things can an HOA do? And it could be a single family, it could be a condo, it could be a townhouse. Deed restrictions, yeah. Right, deed restrictions could be one, meaning you can't resell the property. Right, Jessica, you're right, can't sell. We actually have a deal right now that, mortgage, not so much. I'm going to tell you the other restriction, I'll say it anyway. 55 and over, right, community. And we have a deal right now, it's 55 and over, and the resale or rental restrictions, right, not even resale, rental restrictions could be an issue. And on the rental restrictions, you're looking at 5 years. Like that's the worst I've seen in a long time. So even though it's priced well, or there's some equity in the house, to find a buyer that's going to live in it, right? Most of us are investors. We're looking for different exit strategies, right? So one of your exit strategies could easily be, right, you want to fix and flip. The other one might be what? You might want to be a landlord. Well, if you can't rent it out for 5 years, how's that going to work? Oh, and by the way, it's 55 and over. You want to do the due diligence prior so that you understand what's happening on that portion, right? So, I mean, I've made a killing on some townhouses in Miramar. They were great actual Section 8 rental properties, meaning a ton of Section 8 people were paying top dollar. And I had specific buyers that were actually Section 8, buyers. They loved it. It was easy. They loved townhouses because they didn't have to worry about the roof, at least at this association. They didn't have to worry about the lawn. So for them, it was all cash flow. So you want to make sure, that we're looking, these are the three main kind, right? We're talking about pre-foreclosure. What is pre-foreclosure? Go ahead and put it in the chat. What is pre-foreclosure? And Mike, yeah, what about Section 8 housing? Can we wholesale those? Absolutely. Meaning, what I did was on that deal was, or it was funny because I found about this area in Miramar, and I found a buyer that loves Section 8, and I actually helped him out in pre-foreclosure. I did the short sale for the homeowner, and then I was going to wholesale it to the Section 8 buyers. And when I realized they weren't going to pay that much. But what I did instead was put some carpet in. Yes, I did put carpet. This was years ago, and just literally $3,000 to $5,000, and put a Section 8 tenant in there, and then sold it for way more money to these buyers. So, right, you could absolutely wholesale your business. And again, so what we're talking about pre-foreclosures, yeah. So yeah, if they're behind on their mortgage. It's good. I feel like it, we've talked about this for years. I feel like, Harry, on the webinar. So, right, they're behind on the mortgage. How far behind? What's the minimum they have to be behind to be considered a pre-foreclosure? Go ahead and put 3 months. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we got some smart people on here. 3 months. Harry cheating there. I know you're showing. Yep, it's 3 months. So does it mean that they're automatically going to get served, right? So the way we know someone's in pre-foreclosure, they're going to get served with a list pendants. And what we mean by that is they're going to go to the court, Bank of America, Chase, you pick the lender, private lender, doesn't matter. It's going to say, Mr. Diamond has not paid his mortgage for the last 90 days. And we're going to file something to put him on notice. That's probably the easiest way I could say that. And we use different software, and actually tomorrow's webinar is with ReFax. and they basically go through the court records and look for people that have been served or list pendants. And so that's how we know they're in pre-foreclosure, right? So are all pre-foreclosure, so again, the homeowner still owns it. Bank of America, Chase Bank, they do not own the house. Harry still owns the house. He's still on the deed. He could do whatever he wants, quote unquote, on the house, within reason, I guess. And now what we need to, he's got a big problem. He should be motivated. So Harry, we always think that they should be motivated. Again, we're looking for motivated, sellers. Have you run into people that have not been motivated in pre-foreclosure?
All the way to the auction date.
Yeah. So
Some people you
it
can't
is
help.
challenging. Yeah. So a lot of people, they're just like they think, somehow, I don't know, it's a higher being, someone else is going to go pay off their mortgage, and they don't think it's going to happen. And for the pre-foreclosure, we need for them to work with us. You got to negotiate with the bank. So if we do a pre-foreclosure and there's no equity, right? So no equity. Harry, you want to talk about what equity is? Give me a quick example of equity.
Equity is the difference between what you owe and how much you can sell the property for.
Yeah, right. Market value, quote unquote. So, if I was going to use the HDTV, very basic, right, numbers, the house is worth 300,000. They owe 200,000. They sell the house $100,000 in equity. Of course, we're not taking closing costs, stamps, realtor commissions, all the above. But quote unquote, that's $100,000 with equity. If they have no equity, we have to negotiate with the bank. We actually have to do a short sale. So part of that, short sale situation that we're talking about, you need your power team. And what we talked about when it was the power team, we talked about, who you need on that team: contractors, inspectors, negotiators, a title company, realtors. We need all those pieces. Oh, maybe hard money if you don't have the cash. We need all those pieces to actually negotiate with the bank to get a better price. Also, there's pre-foreclosures with equity. Why would someone have equity and they're in foreclosure? How would that happen? Go ahead and put in the chat. Right? Because my realtor friends are always, what do they always say? Well, they have equity. I don't know why they don't just sell it. Right? So I'll tell you some of the things that happen with people, right? If they haven't made payments in a year or two, what happens, right? Meaning they take all that mail from the banks, the attorneys, and I hate to say, they shove it to the side. They're in denial, like they're not looking at everything. All they know is they keep owing money, right? And for us, one of the things is, I get that you keep owing money, but what's happened in the last 12, 24 months, right? Prices have gone up, so they do have equity. They might owe $25,000, $30,000 to get it back up to date. Most people don't have the $25,000, $30,000 from it. So for those people, they may actually walk away with money. And when we say that is that there's enough equity and, we could actually close in 30 days. We're going to have to pay their late fees, attorney fees, all the above. The short sale, right, could take our fastest was like 45 days. Realistically, 4 to 6 months is what you're looking at. Our most, I think, was almost 2 years. And again, those were extenuating circumstances of what's happening. We didn't like the price, we're battling, all the above, but they do take time. But we've seen some massive numbers on some of these short sales that we talked about. I mean, those numbers have been over the top. Same thing with probate, right? So what's a probate? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Have you ever heard of a probate? Yeah, the owner dies. Yeah, someone dies, let's put it that way, on title, right? And so a lot of time they don't have a will, or it's not in a trust or something of that nature. And, I know we live in South Florida or Florida in general. A lot of people retire and, they have their kids living in other states. They live up north or the Midwest. And a lot of times, what we've seen is someone passes away. The house is usually in a horrible condition, right, Harry? How many would you say that are in great condition, probates that you've seen? What percentage would you say
Out
that
of
you
all
thought
the
were
ones
moving
I've
ready?
done, which one has been in
Yeah.
great condition?
Have you had any?
One was in okay condition. The rest were even better because they were completely destroyed, and those are the ones I love. But none was in great. I think the last one was probably in the best condition. The last one we just
Yeah.
sold last month.
Yeah, and so what we're saying is like what usually happens is unfortunately as people get older, it's harder for the upkeep on the house, and they can't really afford it. Or I hate to say it, like I've seen some things at a friend's mom that passed away, and I couldn't believe she lived like that. And I thought of her as a very vibrant, one of my best friend's moms, and like you're just like, wow, what happens? And the kids wanted nothing to do with it, right? One lives in Colorado, the other one lived in northern Florida, and they were actually going to walk away from the place. Actually, it's a little condo in Century Village, actually. And being a good friend of theirs, I said, there's other things that you could do out there. And after the probate, and they actually walked away with 30 grand. So they had no interest in actually, owning it anymore or becoming, coming down to fix it. And all we did was clean it out, and we sold it and wholesaled it to another cash buyer who wound up flipping it. So a lot of times, right, the probate, it's unbelievably profitable. What are some of the challenges with probate? What do you guys think? Go ahead and put it in the chat. And remember, guys, put your questions in the Q&A, please, whenever you get a chance. Yep, Maximo, Eldon, yep. Too many heirs, sibling rivalry, emotions, right? Dealing with family members, right? I know none of you guys have any family issues, right? It's all like the Brady Bunch, I promise. And so that's one of the challenges out there to get so many people to agree. I know we're working on a deal right now with one of our students. There's 8 heirs, and 7 of them, are yes, and 1 doesn't want to sell. So it's taking some time, and they're almost there on the 8th because there's no other options. And luckily, we have some advanced techniques where there's a way to almost make them force sale, because we will have 7 of the 8 people. Of course, attorney fees and all that other good stuff too. But there are different ways that you could get things done. But on a probate, you definitely need for everyone to sign off. So it's important. And again, this is not an asset protection class. We do actually have vendors that will teach you, but you probably will want to, make sure if you own investment properties, even your house, whether you have a will, you definitely would want to have a will or a trust to make sure you could transfer property to future generations. The issue also, I did see someone talk about attorneys. Yes, right. So attorney fees could add up without a doubt, and you'll be surprised how long it takes, right, for attorneys to battle, right? Especially if you have a few siblings and everyone's got an attorney. So if there's any attorneys on board listening today, we love you. I'm just saying, a lot of times you take all of our money because you guys are battling, right? It's the per hour, but you want to make sure that they trust you. The other thing is in-state landlords and out-of-state landlords, right? Why are those deals, right? Again, we're assuming that they're motivated, right? So if they're out of state, what could be their motivation? What do you think? Go ahead and put it in the chat, right? And my favorite is obviously, and I'll just kind of use one of those, is they're trying to property manage it out of state, right? And that's a little bit difficult unless you really have a great tenant. The issue I've seen is also if you have a bunch of properties, maybe you guys, a lot of you guys live here in Florida, you have a house, in, I don't know, the Carolinas or Tennessee. If it's one, it's okay, or two, back and forth. Or if you have boots on the ground, those family members that you actually like, right? Then it's a little bit different. Versus if you're trying to scale your business and you own 10 or 20 properties out of state, it's a little bit difficult. The other thing that we've seen also, right, code violations, right? Harry, how many times have you gotten door knocking and the person's out of state and there's that favorite orange sticker, right? So that, I mean,
Work without a permit?
work without a permit. Yeah. We've seen houses where, they're running, I don't know, like, I don't want to say like a auto mechanics shop on their backyard. We've seen that. All sorts of things. Or what about your tenants not paying? Right? Obviously the pandemic, there were some people that were hurt and they weren't making payments. So we've made a lot of money on out of state, right? Or taking the photos of their house and they didn't know any better. Or we've seen people, this one kind of crushed me a little bit, was, as a landlord, they're saying, the tenant's saying, hey, I lost my job or I'm making less money. Instead of me paying X amount, 1,500, will you take 1,000? And what do? They Airbnb the other rooms, right? So they're actually pocketing the money. So there are some challenges with out-of-state landlords that they face that other landlords don't. In-state, right? It's a little bit easier, right? If you could drive down the street, or within an hour, it's a little bit easier. But back in 2004, 5, 6, I was living in South Florida. I had about, I think 12 or 14 properties in the Tampa area. When there was problems, guess who was driving on the weekends, right? Like, it was fun to deal with tenants and things broke in. And I actually had a management company and I didn't interview them. So I made the mistake of, it was a recommendation from a friend. Well, it was a friend first. And he says, oh yeah, I manage properties. And I said, okay, that's great. You're managing, this is a win-win. And he's never really managed, he managed 1 or 2 of his own properties, but was never really a property manager. So he didn't know how to do notices. He wasn't checking on them. So any of those things become a big challenge when you're looking at, for other landlords. What we've also seen now is that one of our, our best, prospects are people that bought between, really 2009 to 2012. They bought at the bottom of the market, right? And if you guys don't realize it, right, they've already doubled or tripled their money. But what happens, right? They're going to hit some big CapEx expenses, right? And Harry, like, when you're sitting there and you're looking at big CapEx expenses, I'm talking about a roof, right? So now the life of the roof is gone. The kitchen, the bathrooms, these are big expenses that they're going to run into. And a lot of guys are landlords. You guys don't, I always laugh when they talk about their return, they forget to add in how much money they put in. So I think that's a little bit of a challenge. And so or they're older and they want to liquidate, right? Hey, I've owned 10, 15 properties. I'm ready to retire and I'm done. I just want to cash out. So we've done pretty well on.
Or they had to evict multiple tenants and go through court cases, makes tenants angry, creates more damage on the property, potentially.
Yep, exactly. So Karina's even asking, the owner passed away and you need to do a probate. Can you wholesale while a probate is happening? So what you have to do is the probate has to be fully completed. They have to have a personal representative to sign off. So if you don't, or if it's not completed, and let's say it's the sister or whoever it is, and they sign a contract, it's not going to be valid. When you try to close, the title company is going to want all the clear probate. What we have done in the past is we have done a contract just so that we have it locked up, and then we did a new contract once the probate was actually completed. So they knew that we were going to do it, and we've actually done deals where If there's a lot of equity in it, I'll go ahead and pay the probate, or I'll reimburse it. The negative on that is, what happens if they don't sell to you? Usually, we've always had good relationships with our homeowners that they've never gone anywhere else. Have you had anyone, Harry, you paid for a probate that backed out last minute?
We take control of that whole situation. So most of the time when we're doing that is because they're motivated, they're just tired and they want to move on. And if someone else is going to solve their problems for them, they're going to hang around. They start to see how much work is involved and they don't want any part of it. So they let us do it. And for that, the numbers are self-rewarding.
Yep, absolutely. And so we were talking a little bit about assignments of contracts and double closings, right? So a lot of you guys just said selling the contract. Yes and no, right? Assignments of contracts are very popular. So there's a couple caveats. If you are working on a foreclosure or a short sale, you cannot sign the contract or sign the contract. Why do you think that happens? What do you think the reason you cannot assign a contract, whether it's in
a short sale?
Short sale, yep, or if it's an actual foreclosure, right? Harry buys it or has it under contract for, X amount, 150,000. It's a foreclosure. He got it from his favorite foreclosure person, and he assigns it to me for 10,000.
Maureen, elaborate in your statement because you're on the right track.
Yep. So, yeah, it's bank owned, but why would the short sale or the foreclosure, right? So remember, if it's a short sale, the homeowner still owns it. You still cannot assign the contract. And the main reason, right? So think of it this way, like to make it easy, is the bank is losing money, right? And if I owed, if Harry owed me $10 and he says, look, you know what? I can't pay you anymore, and you stop paying me. And now that, $10 was on I don't know, a pen. I don't know if that's an expensive pen, but let's say, and now the pen's only worth, $3. And, another investor says, look, I'll pay you the $3 because that's what it's worth. And then I find out, Alexa, she's the investor, she pays the $3. And I find out that she's selling it to Joe for $4. She's assigning her contract, her payment over, and she's making $1. And I'm writing off, $7. I'm gonna be pissed. I'm like, no chance. I have to actually approve the closing statement, the HUD. So you cannot assign a foreclosure. Same thing with the short sale. The bank is taking less for the money. They make up the rules. They lent the money, they make up the rules. So it's super important. So if you don't have cash, right, or you have the cash, let's talk about, we'll do a double closing. We're literally buying it in the morning and selling it in the afternoon. So where the bank doesn't know, they got paid on their part. The homeowner doesn't know, right? They sold it for X amount. So assignment of contracts are very popular. And so one of the benefits about assignment of contracts, there's one set of closing costs. Hopefully that makes sense, guys, right? One set of closing costs. I'm just filling in. Harry's got a contract for $100,000 with a homeowner. He steps out and he assigns the contract to me for $10,000, and he's going to make $10,000 at closing. The seller's going to get their $100,000, and it has to be disclosed on the closing statement on the HUD. So no side gig. Here's some cash outside. That stuff is not legal. Just so you guys know.
That would be
So
nice.
just make sure it's on the, just make sure you put on the HUD, right? So you want to make sure when that happens. Double closings are super popular, right? And the reason is, if it's a lender, you have to close, right? I told you you can't assign it, or short sale, or if you're making too much money. So why would, right? And our internal rule of thumb is, if we were making more than $15,000, we want to do a double closing. but it's okay. 2 sets of double closing costs. We're making enough money in the deal. You just heard Harry, we talked about a deal he made $170,000 on. Do you want the seller to see? Yeah. Would you want the seller to see that you made this amount of money? So, like a couple of things about that, right? Why would you not want the seller? And I'll kind of give you a better example on that. Harry's the seller, and he wants $130,000 for his house. And I look at it and I say, look, the most I could do is 100. Even though I'm a real estate agent, you're going to save the 6% on your commissions. I could close as fast as you want, all the above. And Harry talks to Victoria and says, she's like, fine, let's just get rid of this house. I want to move on with our life and take the money, and we're going to do something else. Now I send it out on my buyer's list, right? And I send it out for 150,000. And, Alexa's on my buyer's list. She calls, she takes a look at it. And she goes, Anish, I can't pay 150. The most I could pay is 125. Right? And I'm like, oh, Alexa, my numbers are a little tight. Fine, we'll go ahead and do it. So now if I don't close on it, right, and I do an assignment of contract, there's going to be a $25,000 assignment fee. Harry's going to see that at closing. How happy are you going to be as a seller?
Not very.
Yeah, generally speaking, not very.
I want it.
Right? Yeah, I mean, you told me the most you could do this, and now who's this other person on that end of it? Versus if we do a double closing, I'm buying it from him in the morning for 100,000, and then I'm selling it to my buyer for 130. And remember, 2 sets of closing costs. I'm fine with it. We have actually had people, or I've seen this happen, where investors have gotten really greedy, and guess what happens? They're renegotiating, right? The seller's renegotiating at that moment, or your buyer is renegotiating, right? My end buyer is saying, what, 25,000? You told me you're barely making any money. That's 25%. Nish, you son of a whatever. On that end of it, it can be a problem, right? So there's always a caveat. Even though I say that, I'm a cash buyer. Do I care if you assign it to me for 30 or 40, 50,000? I actually don't care. As long as my numbers work, I'm fine with it, right? Like, I'm not worried about how much money you're making. But there are some mom and pop investors, or small investors. Everyone's always mad about how much money you make on the investor. So you're better off just doing a double closing on that portion. Some of the other caveats, right? You want to make sure you have more money on a deposit, right? When you're selling it to your end buyer. So Harry's the seller. I put $1,000 deposit with him. With us here at BPM REIT, we get a $10,000 minimum deposit on the other side. And we get less inspection days. So I think that's always important, that you have to be able to know the difference of what to use, when to use it. And guys, just a little tip also, you really do have to put a deposit down. These guys, I put it, I'm going to put this amount of money on a deposit on a contract. It is not a valid contract in Florida without a deposit. So if you put 5,000 because it's going to make the seller happy, go ahead and make sure you deposit $5,000 with your title company and get an escrow letter. A couple of little points on that. Obviously, do not give it to the seller, the 5,000 or your deposit. Do not give them cash, all the above. So you always want to make sure your partners that you're working with, and you want to make sure you do have an inspection period. And we've done a couple of these classes in the past, or webinars about FAR/BAR as its contracts. You want to generally use the approved FAR/BAR contract in Florida. I know the 1-pagers, 2-pages are out there. They're okay. What I'm worried about is when there's a problem. So if you have a problem and there's some sort of dispute, it's not comprehensive enough too. So what would you say, Harry, on your closings? Are the difference, like, if percentage-wise on double closings versus assignments that you've done overall, if you had to break it percentage-wise?
Well, usually it's about 1.5% when we're buying in
No. I mean, let me rephrase the question. What I meant was, if you have 10 closings, how many assignment of contracts are you doing, and how many double closings are you doing, generally speaking?
all double closings.
Well, Harry does a lot of short sales, but no, well, there's two reasons, right? If he's doing a short sale, he has to close is number one. The second end is he's been seeing some massive profits. Since the pandemic, we've been averaging close to $35,000 plus with our students. So we're always doing double closings. We have done a few assignments also, but overall, I would say at BPM RIA, we're probably about 75% double closings and only 25% assignments.
That's also one of the advantages of being part of a network and a team, is that we constantly are adapting to what's going on in the environment. So in the industry. So when it's necessary, we have this, you use this tool. When we can, we use the other tool. It's very important to have all this knowledge because each situation is different. And the tools that we use, like anything, when you use tools, you have to use the right tool. And I know it's a analogy, but it's very simple that when you have a networking team like that Anish has built over the years, is that you have all of these in your tool chest, so that if something does come up, if you can't make any money and this is a really tight deal, then assignment is a great way to get in and out of it. If it's a short sale and we have to close, if there's any extra money, the bank wants it. So that's why they don't allow assignments or other things. But if we double close, they're not paying. They don't know, because if one deal is closed, it's done. Then when we sell, it becomes a second deal. It's not part of the same thing. So having that wealth of knowledge, and certainly in the past 6 months, I've learned a lot myself from not only Anish, but Taryn, who is probably one of the best master negotiators I've ever met. And she's learned a lot, and it's made, everyone a lot more money, which is
Absolutely
important to know. And do it yourself. I've tried, people want to do this all yourself, and you can, but it comes down to how many can you do, everything yourself. A couple a year, rather do a lot more a year, make more money, and share with everyone.
Yeah. And so what happens? I see a lot of you guys are newbies, right? I don't have the money. So you do need the money for a deposit, right? So generally speaking, I would tell you to put at least a minimum of $500 as a deposit. We put a $1,000. But if you don't have money, right, and you have it sold, so one of the things that we have at BPM RIA is a 10,000 plus cash buyers list. So we know how to sell properties. Guess what? You do have money to an extent, meaning I'm willing to put up transactional funding. So I'm willing to put up the money for a double closing. There are some caveats, right? Like you have to use one of our approved title companies, Independent Title, Kevin Thatcher, Firm Title. They're excellent. We have to use one of those. I will literally put up the money. I do charge 2 points. So let's say you need $100,000 for the day. It's $2,000 is what's going to cost you, plus your other closing cost. You're just building it into your cost. The other thing is that, we're cash buyers ourselves. So I definitely, if I buy it from you, I have no problem putting up the transactional funding, of course. The other choice, obviously, is raising your own money. You could use, and I'm going to use this as a caveat a little bit, like be careful. I mean, you can use family members, friends, but to explain this to them is difficult. My dad, it took him years to understand how we could buy a house in the morning and sell in the afternoon. So, he was a big person thinking that, how's that even possible? Is that legal? All the above. So there are different ways. And as you start building your business and you're doing flips, keep those closing statements, right? So that's a good way to raise your own personal money for deals as you're going. And it may be cheaper than hard money. That's what I had to do, where you're working on a deal where you're profiting, you give a portion of the profits. And then obviously with our coaching program, it's a little bit different because I actually put up 100% of the money for the deal for the deals. Again, transactional funding, just in case you guys don't know, it's money for the day. So if there's a deed restriction or you have to hold it for a few days, that's not going to happen, right? I don't want to be a proud owner of a house on that portion. So there are, again, transactional funding is possible, but if it's any longer than a day, it's not going to happen unless you're one of our students. And that's a whole different end of it, where I'm actually going to put up all the money for the deals, and then we profit share. So I think that's always important. You do have to build a track record as you're working, because there is a lot of trust issues when you're doing transactional funding. You want to make sure you do get more money from your end buyer also. But that's another way to start building some of your cash in there. Well, actually, I think, Carl Fisher from Camel Plant's actually going to do something where how to build your retirement account July 19th using your retirement funds. So that's some of the tactics that I use, and so does Harry also. So what are mistakes that new investors make, Harry? What are some of the things that you've seen? What newbies do?
Well,
Or don't?
I think that a lot of mistakes are made by not plugging in and getting the knowledge, not understanding how to what's exactly going on, or as a majority of what's going on with the homeowners that they're talking to. Because the more you know, the more you can help them. We're really more, we joke, but the truth is we're more real estate therapists than we are investors, and we're problem solvers. So it's hard to solve a problem and find a creative solution for that problem if we don't know what problems we're dealing with. I have found that if you do a little extra research before you actually talk to them, they will think you know everything, and whatever you can't find, they will fill in the blanks. It's helped. That's probably one of the biggest things that's helped my wife and I, our career tremendously. Is we over evaluate, certainly, but and most people don't need to go that far. But knowing a little bit more about what's going on in their lives is very, very big. Getting your team together, having your buyers, having your money, getting a process down is critical for investors, for long-term investors. You may trip over a deal and be successful at it, but if you don't have an open mind, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, and I'm going to just throw a quick poll while I'm kind of talking about this. So what I've seen, which has been, kind of mistakes that they want to do something, like new investors. First of all, they think it's easy, right? So one of the things that what you don't realize is I probably get 3 to 5 calls a month of people losing money on deals, meaning they already bought it, they've already passed their inspection period, they bought it at the auction, and they wound up just buying a lien versus the property, didn't realize it was mortgages on it. That was problem number one. The second is they want to go so big in the beginning that, they're just like, it's just one of those things that they're just so worried that, they want to build this mammoth wholesale business or a real estate empire, and they don't know the basics is number one. They don't know how to build a power team, right? That's some of the things. They have the wrong people on their team. They're not experienced, or like they made the mistake like I did, where my friend just became a contractor, but he had no experience, and I was his experience, and it was a terrible experience, and I lost a bunch of money on that one. I just think that investors, the other thing is they're always looking for the hot market, right, or the new shiny tool. Yeah, today I'm gonna, I know some of the things that I didn't tell you was, so Harry actually did a national coaching program, so did I, and we spent a ton of money. I know I spent about a little over 50. I know Harry, you spent around 50, and you're lucky to get some of your money back. And the problem was they gave us so much information. I was trying to do a little bit of everything. So when I say a little bit of everything, meaning Monday, I'm going to wholesale a house. Tuesday, I'm going to do a tax lien. Wednesday, I'm going to rehab a house. Thursday, I'm going to try to find a seller financing house. And so I was trying to do so many different things, and I'm in real estate. I didn't know how to do any of it. So I just feel like that's something that happens a lot. But like, it's kind of interesting as I put this poll up here, to see what's really important for you guys. And, it's funny, whether it's finding deals, right? The idea of finding deals on the MLS, I know a lot of the guys are agents, it's a little bit difficult. So have we done deals on the MLS? Absolutely. But our big numbers are off market. We're going to the source. And that's letters, knocking on doors, calling on that end of it. Scalability, right? Like, it's great that you're doing deals and you're putting some money on your pocket. Are you using automation of any kind? Like, we use REI Black Book, ReoFax, any of those things, right? To build our business. Are you building VAs on your team, right? Are you in different markets? These are all the different things that you want to look into, but you can't go into it thinking you have to figure all this stuff out. I mean, how many times, Harry, and I'll speak for myself, is that you just feel overwhelmed because you feel like you're doing too many things and you wind up doing nothing. Have you ever, go ahead, put it in the chat if you've ever had that feeling on that portion. My favorite, where I feel overwhelmed, which you'll laugh at, is that Cheesecake Factory. No, Cheesecake Factory is where, if you guys ever been to Cheesecake Factory, the menu is like, I feel like 50 pages on there. And I'm like, yeah, I'll try this, I'll try that. I told my wife, I'll try this. I get the same thing every time. I get the jambalaya and the orange chicken because the menu is so big, it's overwhelming. And whenever you feel overwhelmed, you don't want to do anything. You don't want to think. And that happens a lot, right? So that's what you want to, those are some of the mistakes I've seen. Or my favorite, which, and I'm not picking on the realtors and stuff on that, is that the realtors, are salespeople and they're saying, hey, this is a great deal on this. And I just had one recently. They only showed me the comps in this one area. And I said, what about all these other ones? Right? So I knew a lot of experienced realtors, 20, 30 years, but they've never wholesaled a house or flipped a house.
Actually,
So
probably one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made was not giving myself permission to take the time to learn how to do this properly. And that's what I recommend to everybody, is take the time, give yourself permission to take that time. Real estate will always be here. It's not about doing something today for tomorrow's result. We've had, there's a fire damaged property I was looking at in 2017. Actually, last time I spoke to the Suns were January of 2020. I found the piece of paper, it's lost, found it, putting it under contract this week. So 5 years, it's part of the process, but learning how to do this better, make yourself better to help other people makes you a better investor. That was my biggest mistake, is trying to rush through everything.
Absolutely. And so, everyone's complaining about what, right? I don't know. I know I always get the same question. How's the market, right? There's no deals out there. How's the market? And I'm always saying the market's good because we're doing deals. So in 2008, when I was losing my butt, and a lot of my friends, I was like, oh, the market's terrible. Some of the old timers like Paul Regan, one of our vendors, Herb Blander, Brad Emmer, they crushed it. They made millions on that portion. So one of the things is, you can do, right? You got to do what everyone else doesn't want to do, right? Knocking on doors, calling people, actually going out there and, and looking at houses and speaking to sellers. The other thing you could do is you could go into secondary or third markets, meaning, like, instead of picking, I don't know, downtown Fort Lauderdale or any of these things, you might pick a little suburb like Lakeland or Plant City, or, not Sarasota. Sarasota's a little expensive, but it might be Port Charlotte. You're picking different markets where there's not as much, competition. Taryn, who's one of the other mentors, she loves virtual wholesaling. So she's actually in Louisiana, Virginia, and she's in different markets where it's not as competitive. The other thing that you can do, right, is, build a team, right? Have credibility. So a lot of our mentors, I always kind of joke about it, is, imagine I knocked on your door, Harry, and say, hey, listen, I'm a cash buyer with no real estate experience. I want to buy a house. Let's try it out. It's not
How
going to
much do
happen,
you have?
right? He's going to, Yeah, you're gonna call the police on me. You're like, what, this crazy guy at my
I don't
house?
know if you come up with the right price.
Yeah, but I don't have any money. I'm just gonna what? I don't have a team. I'll put whatever I want on a contract. I don't know. I don't even know how to fill a contract. Right. So I mean, it's not about price, obviously. You
I'll
gotta have
hire him as a
all those
bird
other.
dog.
Yeah.
He's got no fear not
Well,
to.
I mean, well, the thing is, like, you have to have those tools, right? And so some of the other things that we've done, right, is proof of funds. How do you know they're really a cash buyer? Get a set of proof of funds. So you need those. I have no problem putting large deposits if I know it's a deal. I put $25,000 on a house on a deposit. Do I want to do that? Not really, but that's okay. I've extended, closing dates where I've let them stay for 30 days. It's different when you have tools or access. So you got to start picking up and thinking a little bit different. And the idea of just timing the market at the right time, good luck, right? And what you really want to do is figure out your exit strategy on properties. Do you want to build long-term wealth and own properties? Well, it doesn't really matter, for if you do or not, meaning, and what I mean by that, if the price goes up 20% or down 20%, it makes no difference because you're living on cash flow. So that's a whole different end of it. So some people, oh, my net worth is this. Oh, the market went down, it's this. Well, until you sell it or, get rid of that property or sell that asset, it doesn't make a difference. So there's people that, that were able to weather the storm in 2008. And those same houses, I looked at some of the houses I lost, they're worth more than what it was worth back in 2008 at the height of the market. So there's some winners out there too. So, I know we have a few questions too. So I'm going to kind of hit a couple of these questions as we're going too. Someone's asking about, assignments in wholesaling are actually allowed in Florida, aren't allowed in Florida. They are actually. So you could do assignments and double closings. It is legal in Florida. There are some states out there that are trying to change the law on that. Florida is not one of them. So you're in a good spot there so far. So, when we're saying, let's see, with the double closing, the end buyer doesn't know how much you sold it for with the seller. Correct, right? So our end buyer has no idea. They only have the contract between me and the end buyer. They only know what they're buying it for. Can they check? Absolutely, right? We've done that where I've sold it to someone of my, I wholesaled it out to one of my investors, and I was curious to see what they wound up selling. And the way you check is just through the public records. But at that point, they don't know. So that's why you're doing the double closing. Let's see, how difficult is it for a newbie like me to actually get funds from lenders to start with? Okay, so one of the things is hard money guys, it's going to be difficult, right? They're going to want you to have some skin in the game. Traditionally, you need 20 to 30% of your own money plus closing costs for hard money. Newbies, like meaning, family or friends, they may, that's a little tough. What I'm going to tell you when things go wrong, like I borrowed money from my parents. When the market crashed, it was not happy time during holiday season. So you just want to be very careful, but you want to be able to partner with deals. But as long as you have enough money for a deposit, you're in the game, right? And you're going to want to have some software. Again, you could always get it under contract, call us, we might buy it from you, or we might, do a JV agreement and partner with you and sell it on our buyers list. So there are options out there when it comes to that too. So let's see, the Florida approved contracts, if you're not a licensed real estate agent, you could, and I'll just put it in the chat, you could go to altastar.com and you could actually buy or subscribe, and you get a licensing agreement and you'll have access to all the contracts. It's about $150 a year. So that's a popular way if you're not a licensed agent. Otherwise, if you're a licensed agent, you can go ahead and use the Florida FAR Bar. So one of the things that I'm always kind of curious, also, I'll put one little last question while we kind of finish up also too, is about mentors or masterminds. Are you part of any? So me personally, I have one mastermind and I have two mentors. So I am constantly learning. I don't know all the answers whatsoever. what I've seen, and with people in general, they want to, have a mentor. And I don't know, the easiest way I could say it about this business is that you could do this by yourself, 100%. The issue is if you do it by yourself, right, there's a lot of landmines, and it might move way slower. Some of the greatest athletes, right, whether it's a Tiger Woods has a swing coach, tennis, same thing. You think it's an individual sport, they have coaches, whether it's sports of any kind or some of the biggest, highest professionals that I know, they're all part of masterminds on that portion. So I'm always trying to see why people are don't. And I always had the excuse too, like, I'm not sure if this is the right one, or I'm not sure how to do this, or I really don't need one, which I do like that most of you guys say that, that you do need one for mastermind. And that's the only way you're going to grow. And one of the things that, I know we kind of talked about it today a little bit was our 2-day quick start. So when we used to have these in-person, events at the hotel, the 2-day quick start was about $1,500. And the $1,500 was because the hotels were expensive. It is what it is, and that end of it. And, as we did this online, and it is a total different format where we're actually going to see your faces, we keep them small. And it's 2 full days of what we kind of just went over. We do have special guests, meeting Kevin Tasher from Independence Title, our contractor on board. We're going to talk about how to set up your corporation, the software we use. So we're using a lot of different things, and it's like our mini mentoring for 2 full days. And, obviously the pandemic happened, and now I save all that money on hotels. So again, we're doing this for $297. If you could figure out and do the math, that's not really a money maker for me. We do have some early bird special until the July 4th weekend. So I think it's always important to be in action, right? It's great that I see a lot of people, webinars, are in-person meetings where I've seen some of you guys for years, and you guys have been waiting on the sidelines, right? And so the old timers, like even Harry, you've been doing this for what, 10 years, give or take, right? And we kind of joked about it.
Program.
Yeah. So, but I mean, even we joked about it, was like, oh, when short sales, it was so easy. Those were the good old days. What I'm telling you is that if you fast forward, and I love that this is recorded, we'll see in 5 years. I'm going to say that I'm going to go out on a limb, and you're going to look back and say, wow, those were some good years. Man, it was so easy. So I think you should be in action. Again, it's a 2-day full event, A to Z, on how to find properties, evaluate properties. I give you a money back guarantee. So as long as you hang out for the full 2 days and you said, hey, this thing is not that great, it's not as advertised, I will gladly give you all your money back. I have no problem on that end of it, because I really believe in what we're teaching. Again, I'd rather pass on the savings. And I know right now with the market and everything that's happening a little bit, money might be tight. So that's one of the reasons that we're doing a lot of free webinars on purpose, just to give access to people. And again, we're cash buyers. So again, I would go ahead and do it. It's September 10th and 11th, and you could be at your house. So it'll be kind of cool on that portion. We're going to go in detail and really show you some of the deals and make it interactive, where we're going to get you to evaluate a deal as the teammate. So again, let's see, I think there's a couple little questions. Jessica's asked, would you advise someone to sign up for a first-time business owner grants? Jessica, the grants aren't that easy. It depends if you could get one, and it also depends what kind of grant. So it's a little bit more complicated when it comes to that. So I think it's a little bit of a challenge. I know tomorrow, I'm going to leave you with this. Tomorrow is ReaFax is going to be doing his event. Again, we're doing an in-person meeting in Boca, July 20th, July 23rd. We're going to have kind of an event like this, but you'll actually get to see us and ask some more questions. It's going to be a little bit more detailed in Pompano. Any last words that you got, Harry, for our group?
Well, you guys, believe it or not, are in the right place at the right time. When I started, I spent $2,000 to do this boot camp, and Victoria paid $2,000 as well. We ended up putting 12 deals to these guys, splitting them to learn about this, and that was our contribution to keep plugging in. You guys are hearing a lot of the stories of our success. This is there for you. There's plenty of off-market deals right in your own backyard. You probably drive by some of these and you don't even understand how much potential they have. Find a boarded up, burnt out house, bring it to us. We'll show you. There's some really big advantages to this, but plug in. We started this, Victoria and I started this as an additional stream of income. It has now become our main source of income. And we love paying it forward and sharing and creating new millionaires and the students as well. So, welcome aboard and keep plugging in. We're here. Come to the events, meet us. You'll find out we're the real deal.
Yeah, and so one of the other things, a couple little tidbits, just so that you guys know also. I know some of you guys talk about for financial reasons, for not having a mentor. Our full mentorship does have financing options. So I could go over those with you, just book a discovery call. In the meantime, the $297, you do have to invest some money in yourself. I mean, that's just the reality of what this is. And down the road, you have to get some software and business cards. The idea that you could do this with no money at all is a little bit difficult, as I haven't really seen that. So again, you're trying to build a career. We've had people actually do our 2-day quick start, sold us a deal, and then they've actually done our mentoring, or actually they just now sell us deals and they don't even have to do our mentoring. So the numbers are there, right? And what I really invite for you, our listeners is like, when's it going to be your time, right? When are you going to get off the sidelines? I'm constantly putting, and some of you guys maybe have seen our, hopefully, I don't know if Alexa, you put it in our new YouTube channel where a little bit. So one of the things is out of your comfort zone. We talk about it all the time. Sean McMurray is one of our former students. They're always students. He is a great person on YouTube. And I always talk about our students to get them out of their comfort zone. So now we're doing some funny videos that has got me totally out of my comfort zone to do this, but you got to put yourself out there. And that's what I'm asking you guys to do in general, is at least become a member, be part of the organization. Don't let another year pass you by. And there's some pretty cool stuff that obviously we're working with the guys down in Miami with the Tria Club, doing some events together as a team. Some of the things that you may have seen if you're following us socially, I got to work with the Miami Dolphins. If you're football fans, they have a business combine, and they asked me to be the flipping expert, on short sales, short-term rentals, all the above. And, there's a good chance I might be doing some with the NFL. So I am constantly pushing the limit for myself as I'm growing. And that's all I ask for you guys too, because, if you guys are taking the time to even be on this webinar, there has to be some interest, and, hopefully we'll get to see you soon too. So
one of my favorite phrases is do today what others won't, so you can live tomorrow like others can't.
Yep. And if you guys didn't know, and some of you guys have been on this for a while, I told you I'm from New Jersey and I'm Indian, so I'm not the rah-rah guy. If you're looking for a cheerleader, said you have to do this. I'm not high pressure. That's the other thing. Some of you guys are students on here. If I have to chase after you to sign up, how am I going to coach you? I'd rather you keep your money. So and so hopefully I'll see you guys. Tomorrow's our event with ReFax, and then our main meeting is in July, the first week of Wednesday. So perfect.
All right. Thank you, guys. You killed it. And as you all know, you can always give me a call or send me an email if you have any questions. I'll be sending you all an email following this webinar just with some helpful links. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. And the last thing also, I always forget, if you guys don't mind, make sure you give us a 5-star Google review on the webinar if you think it's worth the 5 stars. Also, you can email our office, either Alexa or myself, if there's specific topics that you'd like us to cover. Again, we do own the RIA, so I do have different panelists, and if I get enough people that say, hey, let's do this, I'll try to find someone on that subject matter too. So again,
Absolutely.
thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Happy
We did record this today, guys. So you will see this on the YouTube channel in 48 hours. So look out for the replay if you'd like to watch this again. That's
Great.
it.
Thanks, guys. And happy July 4th weekend to everyone. Be safe.
Absolutely. Stay safe. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Harry. Bye.